Good day. So today, one of Vauxhall Mokka doing a timing belt on water pump. This is a 2014 1.7 cdti. So, first things first, let's get the car jacked up, driver's wheel removed. So that's the driver's wheel off, car's all jacked up. So what we want to do next is, we need to remove this cover here. So you got screws, clips and that around here. Just take this inner lining off here, just to give us a bit of room to get to the belts. Then we need to remove the air box, this pipe here, so just undo it here and just pull your air pipe off. Don't forget to unclip here. That just push that in like that and it will pull out. Then you want to take this cover off, so you just take your wheel cap off like that, and this pulls up like that. Get that out of the way, you don't need that. Put your wheel cap back on so nothing falls down. So I'll take this off and the cover underneath there off, and I'll be back. So that's the airbox out. Like I say, just undo the pipe here. So you undone it, pull your pipe off, then your airbox, you want to lift up this side, lift it up, pull away, because it pull out of here, and it pulls up from here. So you want to lift this back up first, and it pulls in towards the engine, it pops out, and you just lift it out. This clip here, just pull the yellow bit out, pull it out and push it in, and it unclips. Right, inner arch, you have clip here, it's one of them stupid little pins, like that, you pop the middle out. I had a T20 screw in here, but then I had a T20 screw there, one there, and one there. Then once you've done that, add two T20 screws underneath here. So now this should pull out of here. Should. Anyway, pull it out. Then what you want to do is get underneath the car. All this messing around just to do it. And you want to unscrew all your bottom tray here, because you're going to need to get to your engine at the bottom here to support it. So yeah, it is a bit oily, as I do need a new sump plug washer, as it's leaking. So it's due for a service. So when I do that, I'll replace that. I'll just bang some engine cleaner over it, oven cleaner over it, and give it a jet wash. Get rid of all that. Anyway, take the bottom cover off. That's a load of T20 screws and them stupid clips. You got T20 screw here, T20 screw here. That's to release your inner arch. This is the bottom inner arch. So mess around with it, give it a tug, and it will come off. Give it a good tug. It does hook in behind here as well, so you have to pull it out. I ain't undone it all, I've just done enough so I can just tuck it around the back here. Just give me enough room. There we go, that's what it looks like underneath here. That gets to your spot right there. You can even get to the walls better. Anyway, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to take alternator belt off. So we'll go back to the top. So, alternator belt. Before we even take it off, let's just see how it routes, so we don't forget. I'm going to get back on. So it goes around your crank, back down, around the adjuster, around your water pump, back over, up to your power steering pump, up there. Up to your power steering pump, up there. Back round to that pulley, back down to your alternator. So there we go, that's the routing of the alternator. Around there, straight back up, around your pump, power steering pump up there, that one up there, back round here, and back down. So that's the routing of the alternator belt. So, before we even pull the alternator bolt off, we want to undo these crank bolts here. So we can take this crank pulley off, and we want to undo the water pump bolts up there as well before we take the belt off, so it just holds it nicely as we're replacing the water pump as well. So these are 13mm, I think. This socket generator to the centre, the crank is a 24mm. So yeah, let's get these off. So I've cracked the nuts off. Actually, they're just finger tight now. These are a 13mm. Just loosen these 4 off here. You don't need to undo the big one. And these ones up here are 10mm. So I've done them finger tight as well. And the pump. It's just so when you go to take them off, when the belt's off, you ain't going to struggle. So yeah, time to take the belt off. So, what we're after, 14mm. And all you want to do, stick that on there and pull up. Try and pull up. Anyway, you gotta just pull it up, pull your belt off. So there we go. I say just pull it up and just slide your belt off. That's my belt. If you ain't already, it's best to always replace these, especially if you're doing this kind of work. Because while it's all stripped, it's easier to get off. And for my belt, that is the code, 1688. So yeah, right, so that's the belt off. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to unscrew these and pull these pulleys off. Don't lose your bolts. Right, check this crank pulley off. Mine was a complete bitch to pull off. So what I ended up doing, getting a claw hammer like that, just sticking the claw just behind it and resting the claw against the alternator bracket here, then just banging the hammer down to force this off, and it does come off. So yeah, there we go. I thought I'd just show that because that was a complete bitch to come off. What I'll do is I'll give it a clean up before I put it back on. So there we go. That's both pulleys off. The water pump pulley was easy. That pulled straight off. So soon I undid the bolts. Like I said, the crankshaft pulley was a bitch to get off. Like I say, I put a claw hammer in, stuck it against the bracket of my alternator so I weren't damaging out, and just tapped the hammer down. Then the pulley came off. So the next thing to do is I'm going to start unbolting all these 10mm on the covers all the way around. One there, and a couple down there, and a couple at the bottom to get this cover off. There's top cover off. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 bolts holding the top cover on, and 4 holding the bottom. Yeah, so the next thing to do is I'm struggling to get this bottom one out here, the bottom casing. I can force it out. Focus. I can force it out, but I don't want to break it, so I'm just going to leave it there for now. Next thing to do is we're going to take this engine mount off. So time to jack the engine up, get something underneath to hold it, then we can take this mount off. So, this is what I've done. I've got an axle holding the car up at the back there. For this side, I put my jack under here, a piece of wood across here, and I've got another axle here. So I've jacked the engine up so much just before it starts lifting the car up, and I put my axle underneath the wood as well, holding the engine as well, and just lowering my trolley jack back down slowly. So I've got two supports, this, my axle, and my trolley jack holding my engine. So if for some reason my trolley jack gives up or whatever, it's still resting on the axle. I didn't want to just have the axle just holding the engine, just so the trolley jack and the axle is taking the pressure across my sump. I ain't got all the weight on one point, I've got it on 2 points with a piece of wood across. So yeah, that's that. So next thing is, let's take this engine mount off. So once we've undone all 6 15mm nuts and bolts, the engine mat will lift off. Just make sure the engine is supported underneath. Like I say, I've just jacked it up enough just so it don't drop when I undo the bolts are out. So yeah, that's off. So next thing to undo is the bolts on here to take this mount off the engine. There we go, that's that one. There's 3 15mm bolts holding that. That's how it sits on your engine. So there we go. That's all the mounts off. So all we've got to do now is put it into time and get it ready. What you want to do is put a 19mm socket and ratchet on your crankshaft, and you want to turn it clockwise the way your engine goes, and you want to line, see this hole here, you want to try and get it lined up. See that hole just underneath that bolt there, lined up with that. And what you need is an M6 and an M8 long bolt. Pretty long, that's what you need. Focus. M6 and that M8 bolt. I bought these off eBay. I think it was like £1.50 each. So yeah, I'm gonna line that with that one down there, and the same one of these holes here. There's 2 holes on here, so you got that one lined up with that. One of them holes should match the other hole what's in the cylinder red. So you put an M8, I think it's in this one, M6 bolts into here, and it will lock your cam and your power, your pump up, so it will not move these, so you'll be all good. So let's get it to it. Alright, see that mark, see that red bit there? That's got to line up with that red bit down there, see that point? I should crank in time at the bottom. This belt has been done before, about 80,000 ago, so yeah, due for another one. So that lines up there, so let's go to the top. Yeah, so you want an M6 bolt into here, bolt straight through into the hole just underneath that nut. M8 bolt straight in. If it's all lined up properly, it will bolt straight in there. You want a 15mm spanner on there with an Allen key there. But before we undo the belt, let's undo this cam sensor. You want a 10mm. Just unclip it. Clip the wire. This pulls up. Just pull that little grey tag up, then you just push it in. That will free that wire off. And all you want now, 10mm, and do that bolt there. Once you get your sensor out, just slash it off this 15mm here. So make sure you've definitely got everything locked up. And just lift up your Allen key, release this, pull your timing belt off. Next thing you want to do is unbolt your tensioner and your pulley. This is a 17, this is a 15. Unbolt them. So before we go any further with the timing, I'm going to change the water pump. So yeah, go and do the 5 13mm bolts. There is one there, one here, one there, 2 at the bottom here. I didn't have to remove my bottom pulley here. I just use my fingers, come straight out. When I take it off, take the old gasket off. That's how the old gasket sits. So you see where the bolts are. And these holes are. So yeah, there's my old water pump. So I'll give it a clean, start fitting the new one. So here's my new water pump and the new gasket. So what you want to do is put the gasket and your water pump. Put 2 bolts you can get to dead easy. 3 water pump onto your gasket without dropping your gasket. Somewhere where you can't get it. Yeah. So stick it on, put your bolts through so it holds it, so it holds your gasket in place, and just bolt it back on. So yeah, get your bolts in like I did this one and this one here. Just hold the gasket in place, get on finger tight. You can put the rest in just to make sure the gasket sits. Just do more finger tight so all the gasket sits in properly. Then just go around, tighten them all up, finger tight, just till you can't do it anymore. Then use your spanner and tighten them off. That's the water pump all bolted back in, nice and tight. Next thing is, let's put the tensioner and pulley back on here. So here's my new tensioner and pulley, new belt. This is my old belt off here. GM 25mm wide, 360 teeth. So yeah, make sure it matches and we'll start building it back up. You do get bolt for each pulley, new bolt, plus where your spring sits on as well. So make sure you fit them with all new bits, as you don't want to fit any of the old bits and on fail. So that's the bottom pulley in. That's my new thread in there. So the spring sits on that. What I've got to do now is do the tensioner. I'll give this a clean up here before I fit it. So, it's tensioner. All I've done is release the tension, brought it all the way around, tighten the middle bolt so it holds it away. So when I put the belt on, the belt will go on nice and easy around the tension, and then I'll just release the tension. So next thing is get the belt fitted. When we're fitting this belt, make sure your bottom crank is still lined up. Make sure everything else, these ain't moved or nothing. Make sure they're still all lined up nicely. Then fit your belt. So once your belt's on, tighten up your tensioner there. Make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure it's all sat nice and properly. Make sure it's sat on correct. Then you just want to check all your timing marks. Make sure that bottom crank is lined up with that point at the back, and here it is. Let's go up top. These are still all bolted in. Then all you do, release these. Then you want to turn your engine twice, clockwise. Turn it twice Just make sure these line back up nicely, make sure it won't jump too, make sure it's still tight. Then you know your timing belt's done. Once you turned it over twice by hand, by the crank, just make sure your bolts, these bolts screw back in. Then you know it's still in time. So yeah, all it is now is put it all back together. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Put my cam sensor back in, that's all bolted back in. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put the covers on. Get a cover on first before I put the engine mount back on. So I'll get that done and be back. This cover all done. Next thing I'm going to do is put the engine mount back on and that. So yeah, I say all it is just reverse taking it apart. So let's get it all done, get it dropped back on floor, see if it starts. There we go. All topped up the water, still need to put more water in. Get it cooked straight away. So yeah, still got to put the airbox in properly and put the under tray and that back on. And the wheel arch